Ready to dive into something pretty cool today?
I'm always up for that. What are we exploring?
We're talking yin yang.
Ah, the classic symbol. Lots to unpack there.
Yeah, and we're going way deeper than just the symbol you see everywhere. We're going to uncover why this concept has been so central to Chinese thought for centuries.
It's fascinating how much depth there is to that simple symbol. I'm all ears.
We'll dig into its origins, figure out what those swirling black and white shapes actually represent.
It's not just about opposites, is it?
Definitely not. By the end of this deep dive, you'll see how yin yang plays out in everyday life.
Whether you realize it or not.
Exactly. And luckily, I've got our expert here to help us break it all down.
Happy to help. I've been looking through some really interesting material on this.
Yeah, excerpts from what seems like the ultimate guide to yin yang.
It's pretty comprehensive.
So where do we even begin with something this big?
You know what I find so fascinating?
What's that?
It's how this seemingly simple symbol, it points to a whole worldview.
I like where this is going.
It's not just about opposites, but about the way they interact.
So it's more like a...
It's like a dance that's been going on since the
Yeah.
beginning of, well, everything.
Okay, I can dig that. The source material mentions yin yang being rooted in ancient Chinese philosophy, especially Taoism,
Right, and it pops up in this incredible text called the I Ching. You know it.
also known as the Book of Changes.
Exactly. Imagine a text so old, it was already ancient by the time the Roman Empire was around.
Wow.
It's all about how the universe is constantly changing, in flux, and yin and yang are the forces driving it all.
So like a cosmic, I don't know.
The cosmic push and pull.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what's so cool is it's not just some abstract idea, it influenced everything in Chinese culture.
Everything.
Well, pretty much. Medicine, art, music, even how they thought about social order. It's woven into the fabric of their world.
Wow. Okay, but can we back up for a second?
Let's break down yin and yang themselves. I was reading through the source material, and it describes yin as darkness, passivity, feminine energy.
And yang is its opposite.
Yeah, light, active, masculine. Honestly, it feels a little stereotypical, doesn't it?
I get where you're coming from. I mean, these are ancient concepts. But the key here isn't to take these descriptions literally. It's about the deeper qualities they represent.
Okay, so how should we be thinking about them?
When you see yin, think inwardness, receptivity,
Like what? Give me an example.
like the coolness of night. Yang is more about outward energy, expansion,
That's as if it's hell.
like the heat of the sun. It's not so much about assigning a specific gender, and more about understanding these fundamental opposing forces at play in the universe and within each of us, too.
So we're not talking about masculine and feminine in a literal sense. It's more about these two opposing energies that are always interacting.
And it's important to remember, having too much of one isn't good.
Right. Like the source said, too much yang and you're headed for burnout. I can definitely relate to that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
We all need those moments of rest and recharge. It's all about balance, right?
100%.
Think of it like a car. You got the gas pedal, that's your yang, all energy and forward momentum. But you need those brakes too.
To slow down, find balance.
Exactly. That's the yin. It's about understanding how these seemingly opposing forces actually work together.
Okay, so how do we actually apply this yin-yang wisdom in our lives? It's one thing to talk about it in theory, but I'm all about practical tips.
And that's what's so cool about yin yang. It has real-world applications, like in traditional Chinese medicine.
Wait, really? They use it in healthcare?
Oh yeah, they use it to understand health and diagnose imbalances.
Okay, I need to hear more about this. Tell me everything.
So they look at the body in terms of yin and yang. Too much heat, that's considered yang, and it could show up as inflammation.
Makes sense.
Too much cold, on the other hand, that's more yin,
Yeah.
and it might show up as low energy or digestive issues.
Wow, so when doctors in traditional Chinese medicine talk about balance, they're really talking about balancing these energies within the body.
Exactly.
It makes you think, if these principles apply to our physical health, what about our emotions, our relationships?
Right. Could yin yang offer some guidance in those areas too? I think so.
Now that you mention it, it makes total sense. When I'm super anxious, feeling overwhelmed, maybe that's a sign of too much yang energy.
Could be. What about when you're feeling stuck? Lacking motivation?
Maybe I need to tap into some more yang.
There you go. You're getting it. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, maybe you need more yin, quiet time, introspection, connecting with nature. And if you're unmotivated, stuck in a rut, Time for some yang. Get outside, move your body, try something new.
Find that balance.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot that works for you.
This is making me see the yin yang symbol in a whole new light. There's so much more to it than I realized.
There's a reason why it's designed the way it is. That
Mm.
swirling black and white is not just a cool design.
So there's more to it. I always thought it was just a cool design.
It's a visual representation of this whole concept of balance. You got black, that's yin, and white, that's yang, and they're forever intertwined.
Right. But there's that little dot of white within the black and black within the white. I've always wondered about those.
It's such an elegant way of showing that nothing is absolute. Within yin, there's always a seed of yang, and vice versa.
Like that saying, you can't have light without darkness.
Exactly. They define each other, just like those dots in the symbol.
I'm starting to see it everywhere now. It's like, even in the darkest of times, there's always that glimmer of hope.
That spark of possibility. There's
Yeah.
always that little dot of yang. And even when things are going amazingly well, there's that little dot of yin, reminding us that nothing lasts forever.
Wow. So it's not about striving for this constant state of bliss.
Not at all. Life is about embracing both sides. It's that interplay that keeps everything moving, keeps the world spinning.
I like that. So often we get caught up in this either mentality, but this is more about and.
Exactly. It's about moving away from rigid thinking and embracing fluidity, interconnectedness. And that could apply to everything
So we're not looking for some perfect state of balance.
because it just doesn't exist. It's not how the universe works.
It's more about riding the waves. Sometimes you need that quiet, introspective yin energy, and other times it's time to unleash that inner yang and go after what you want.
Yes. The yin yang is like a roadmap for navigating life's complexities.
Okay, so we talked about how yin yang shows up in things like traditional Chinese medicine and even our own personal growth. What about the impact on Chinese culture more broadly? The source material mentioned that.
Oh, it's huge. The influence goes way beyond philosophy. It's in their art, architecture, martial arts, you name it.
Even their cooking.
Even their cooking.
Okay, now you have to give me some examples.
Well, take traditional Chinese gardens. They're not just about pretty flowers. They're designed to embody these yin-yang principles. Yeah, you'll find open spaces, that's yang, and shaded areas, that's more yin. Flowing water, yin, and sturdy rocks, yang. It's all very intentional.
So it's like you're experiencing these principles in a physical space.
Exactly. It's about creating that harmony and balance in every aspect of life. Speaking of which, what about martial arts?
Oh, yeah. I never would have thought about that.
Right, you wouldn't think philosophy would have much to do with throwing a punch. But take Tai Chi, for example.
It seems so slow and graceful.
It looks that way, but it's about understanding the flow of energy. They call it Qi.
Okay.
And it's about using your opponent's movements against them. That's yin-yang in action.
So it's not just about strength.
It's not just about brute force, that would be more yang. It's also about yielding, redirecting, which is more yin.
Wow. So even in something physical, there's this underlying philosophy of balance.
It's everywhere. And the thing is, the yin-yang symbol itself has blown up globally.
Right. It's everywhere you look.
This ancient symbol has become an icon for balance and harmony. You see it on everything. Tattoos, T-shirts, people use it to represent all sorts of things.
I think it speaks to something universal in all of us. The world can feel chaotic, unpredictable, but we're all searching for that equilibrium, that wholeness.
And in a world that often pushes us toward extremes, the yin-yang is a good reminder.
A reminder of what?
That real harmony comes from integrating those seemingly opposite forces. It's not about denying one side or the other. It's about finding that sweet spot where they can work together.
This has been eye-opening. Who knew something as simple as the yin-yang symbol could hold so much wisdom?
It's amazing, isn't it? And the best part, you don't have to be a scholar to apply these principles to your own life.
So true.
Just pay attention to where you might be out of balance and see what happens when you make a few adjustments.
So listeners, next time you see that yin-yang symbol, what should they remember?
That there's a whole lot more to it than meets the eye.
It's about balance in a world of extremes. What in your life could use a little more yin or yang? Think about it.